What's up guys, Eric here, and welcome to my top comps of patch 12.13 in TFT. I think this is actually a really good patch where Riot has just knocked it out of the park. There are a ton of different viable comps. A lot of comps that have been viable in previous patches are still really strong right now. I am going to go over some of the newer comps that haven't seen a lot of play up until recently, just to keep you guys updated on the meta, but some honorable mentions of comps that I still think are really strong. Xayah is still totally fine. Nidalee Reroll is still quite strong. Like Assassin, Olaf, Diana is really strong. Assassin Syfen is really strong. Xiaoyu is really fallen off, so you're not going to see any Xiaoyu in this list. I would not really play a Xiaoyu comp if you hit it. But yeah, those are just some honorable mentions of some stuff that I think is really quite strong. Oh yeah, and just mages. Mages in general, I think, are also really quite strong still. But that being said, I want to go into some comps I think that I haven't highlighted in past tier lists. And the first one is Tristana Reroll. So this comp has really only started seeing play over the past week or so. I think it's really popular in China from what I've heard. But basically, you stabilize around this level 6 board where you're running 3 trainers, and then Jinx for Cannoneer, and then the Guardian frontline. Actually, once you 3-star Braum and Thresh, they are super tanky. It's quite an interesting comp because I saw a lot of people when playing something like this, you would opt for more of like a Bruiser's frontline, right? You would opt for like Tahm Kench plus something else because of the Revel synergy. But I've actually found with this frontline, it's actually just so strong once you 3-star Braum and he just puts up that shield and tanks forever. Tahm Kench just really can't do that, even at 3-star. So it's a really interesting comp. I think you should play this definitely if you have an early trainers opener, because part of this comp is just getting the biggest Namzi possible, right? If you get a 3-star Tristana, then she's feeding even more cookies to the Namzi. Same thing with Heimerdinger, though. Most importantly, you want to hit your 2 costs 3-star, so Tristana, Jinx, Thresh, and Braum. Probably in order of importance, I would say Tristana first, then Braum, then Thresh, and then Jinx. She's nice for damage, but not that necessary. If you can find a Heimerdinger 3, that is great. And likewise a Lulu 3 as well, but most important are the 2 costs. But yeah, you basically just go to level 6, roll for these units, and then this is just going to be your board for the entirety of level 6. Then once you start pushing level 7, if you want more frontline and say perhaps you don't hit Thresh 3, you can cut Thresh for like an Itis. Where are you, Itis? So you could do something like this and just get Thresh out. Also, if you do end up hitting these guys 3-starred, you can just play this as your front line, and the best damage at this point is, of course, adding a Corki. So Corki will make your board way stronger, will activate this Revel synergy here, buff up all your Cannoneers. After that, you can look at level 8 to get in like a Sona if your front line is still strong enough. If you have, the big Namzi and these guys 3-starred, you can get away with doing something like this. Or you can also cut something like Thresh, and maybe you don't 3-star Jinx, you cut like Thresh and Jinx for an Itis or something like that. But yeah, actually a really interesting comp. I've had some success with it myself. It's not like turbo broken, but I think if you're in a spot where you high roll like a Tristana 2 really early, you can definitely make it work. So yeah, that is Tristana Reroll. Going into the next comp, we have Elise Reroll. This is actually cropped up only over the past few days. I've seen a lot of people start talking about it, how it's really big on the Korean server, and not a lot of people on NA are playing it, but I mean, there was a guide released on the competitive TFT subreddit. I'm sure, all the YouTubers are going to be making videos about it, like myself. So I think this is a comp that's going to start getting played a lot more. But yeah, this is Elise Reroll. The early game, you don't have to worry about too much. Just play whatever board you can and pick up some Elises if you get them. But really, this comp is based around the level 7 stabilization and roll down. At level 7, you want to hit all of these units. Most importantly, everything but Taric, right? This is the core, the 6 Whispers plus Shapeshifter. And you can get Taric in just because he fits very well with Guardian. You can also start off an early game board of something like Taric, Thresh, Elise, Gnar, and then one Jade unit. If you start off with that core, then you easily get in Jade, you get in Guardians, you get Narn for the Shapeshifter, you'll have your Jade statue, and then you can get in, just something random like an Ashe. And so this can be your level 5 board. really quite strong. And then once you get to level 7, you play this board with Syfen for 6 Whispers. This is Elise's best in slot. You really just want her to gain a lot of HP, auto attack a lot, not get CC'd until she gets all of the stats from the Whispers right, because they gain these bonuses when they hit a shrunken enemy. So you want her to stack up a bunch of AD and AP and then start resetting with her ultimate. It's actually really satisfying, the comps, when your board is strong enough to get Elise to go off. And as I said, this comp really cares about level 7, so this is a level 7 board, right? You'll see there's only 6 units on the dragon counts as 2. As far as stabilizing on level 8 and further, you can just very straightforwardly add Soraka to this board to make your board tankier and get yourself Jade in. You can also, later game, potentially if you have +1 Whisper, you can easily add Pike for 8 Whisper to really cap out your board. If you don't have +1 Whisper, you can add Pike and then say cut Silas or Ornn, because he's just a better frontliner. And if you're going this route, you also don't really have to play Taric anymore. You can even run like a Shapeshifters version of this board, where instead of these, you end up playing Gnar and then Swain. I think this is probably a weaker version of the board, but if you have a reason for wanting to play Shapeshifters, you can definitely play this version of the board as well. So expect to see this comp come up more frequently. I think it's actually quite strong. And I mean, most games you are going to be rolling at level 7 to try to hit at least 3. You can push levels if you're like on a win streak and you want to go 8 and hit Pike or something like that. But in general, this is stabilize at level 7 and then gain enough gold to roll down for an Elise 3. And then she's just going to be one-tapping entire boards one at a time, basically. She'll bite, go up into the air, bite, go up into the air, bite, go up into the air. It's really, it's pretty hilarious. But yeah, this is a new comp that I think is really quite strong. All right. Our next comp, this is Corki. This is a capped level 8 version of the Corki board, and something interesting that you'll notice if you look at this board for a sec is we're not running Tristana. We're not actually running any Cannoneers. And you say, what the hell? Why are you not running any Cannoneers with Corki? The thing is, all the Cannoneer units suck. Like, Jinx is not that great a unit. We play her in Tristana Reroll because she's just an easy unit to hit 3-star. But you would not want a Jinx 2 on your level 9 board in most comps. If it's a Jinx 3, maybe. But almost every single time, level 9 board, Jinx is coming out for a unit that actually does something. Because she just throws her traps down. Half the time they miss. They're just really, it's just not that good of a spell. Senna, once again, just not a unit whatsoever, right? She has no CC on her ability. She's not going to be dealing any damage. So these two units don't exist, and the only Cannoneer that you might want to play, and you'd say, well, we're running trainers, why don't we run Tristana? The reason why we don't run Tristana is we can run a much better trainer, which is Heimerdinger. Not only does Heimerdinger have a better ability, he's going to throw out his egg and just stun the highest health enemy, which a lot of times will be the enemy carry, so we can just stun the enemy carry for a second and a half, which is really good. But he also allows you to get hidden mages really easily, which are really quite strong in this patch. So you can just run a very easy package of Heimerdinger plus Silas plus 1 mage. And a capped board, it's going to be Zoe. Zoe's an insane unit. The utility she provides can just straight up win you an entire team fight. But if you have not hit a Zoe yet, you can very easily run a Nami. And that'll also get the Mystic synergy in for Lulu. But yeah, so you run this board, you play a strong enough frontline of Syfen plus Silas. Nice thing about this is you're running this Whispers frontline, so you don't even need something like a Last Whisper on Corki. You can still build it if you want to, just to ensure that Corki is getting the armor shred on the units that he's hitting. But because you're running these two units, you really don't need something like Last Whispers or even like a Static Shiv for your Revel damage or your Sona damage. So you can just do this and then just go full damage on Corki. If you don't have something like a Celestial Blessing or like Exiles or something to protect Corki, you can cut one of these items for like a Hand of Justice. To give him some healing so that he doesn't die immediately. But this is actually a really, really strong capped version of the Corki board. You're definitely going to be late game just cutting this for Zoe, and then super, super late game you can get in a Bard. And it's actually going to be, it's so good. You can even think about if you feel like your board is tanky enough late game and you really need Mystic, you can cut Silas, or I just moved this over. But you can late game cut Silas for Nami for Mystic. So say you're against, a super mage heavy board, you can do something like this: Silas for Nami, and then just have these guys be your big front line and just, get in as many Mystic as possible, because I mean the jump from 2 to 3 Mystic is 50 MR for your entire team, so you could do something like this. Though in most games you're going to want to have the Sylas in because he's just better frontline, and because he's going to activate 4 Whispers for Syfen and for himself. So yeah, this is the Corki board. It's really interesting, but it's actually so insanely strong. This is another board where you want a trainer's opener as well. You can basically start Heimerdinger plus Tristana, item carry all the items on Tristana until you get to level 7 or level 8, and then move the items to Corki. Really important, actually, is Tristana 2 is way stronger than Corki 1, especially on this board. So I would be very careful about when you transition your items over. If you just have a Corki 1, I would not sell the Trist and move items to Corki. I would just leave Tristana 2 in until you can get Corki 2. So keep that in mind, and you can play this board like basically the entire game. A similar board to this with Mages and Tristana, and then cut the Trist for Corki, and then you'll basically have your board transitioned. So yeah, it's a really interesting Corki board that I think is really quite strong. And so some people are like, I can't play Corki this patch, Corki sucks. You need to play this board. It's just way better than like the random like Idis plus Guardians board. You just play this board, and it's really, really quite strong. All right, our number 2 comp is Varus, the guild variation. This is the variation of Varus reroll that's popped up recently. I think it is really quite strong, especially if you get really good augments. Something like Double Trouble is insane with this board, though you're obviously going to have to cut some units to add Varus's. But this is the standard just guild variation if you don't have like Double Trouble or anything weird like that. So you're going to reroll for Varus. A pretty straightforward way to play this board is to just lose streak through a lot of stage 2, so try to get to your 5 loss streak while maintaining some of your HP, right? You don't want to be 60 HP, ideally, Try to kill some units, play an okay board, but loss streak, ideally with Varus and with Astrals in. You don't even really need Varus, you could play like a Nidalee too and hold Varus items. But lose streak through stage 2. During stage 3, and at 3-2, you're going to go to level 6, roll down to hit Varus 2, and stabilize your board. Best case scenario, hit like a Varus 2 Alawi 2 and some other upgrades, and you can just stabilize your board there. And then you're just going to econ back up until you can go level 7 and roll it down on 4-1 for potentially a Varus 3. And if you can't do it at 4-1, you can wait a few more rounds, potentially do it after stage 4 Carousel, and roll down for Varus 3. But, the win con is hit Varus 3, Alawi 3, Nami 3, and you'll have a really strong board once you add in all these other guild units. It's basically like Guild Xayah, actually, except you're playing these Astral units instead of Ragewing units. And yeah, it just works really well. These are insanely good items on Varus. The Deathblade, of course, makes sense because you're going for the 3-star Varus. Guinsoo's just help him auto-attack a lot, and Renan's Hurricane is going to do a ton of damage with all this extra AD you have from Deathblade. So yeah, this is Guild Varus, I think. I mean, I'm sure you guys have been seeing a lot of this, I think, especially the lower you go in Elos. I think people really, really, really like playing Astrals, so I'm sure you guys are seeing this in a lot of your games. But I want to show you guys these other comps because I think, as you're going to see, there's a comp that I think is even stronger than this if you can play it correctly. So, this isn't the only comp, but this is definitely a very, very, very strong version of Varus and a strong version of Astrals. And so, my number 1 comp, drum roll please, it is Shin. I don't know what it is about this patch, but I feel like Shin has been particularly insane recently. I think part of it is the changes to Namzi, where Namzi gives healing reduction now, which has just made these boards even stronger late game. Also, the fact that I feel like, at least in my games, I'm really playing around this trainer opening. I mean, as you can see, this is 1 comp that uses trainer, 2 comps. This comp doesn't, though you actually can do a variation of this that uses trainer. 3 comps out of my 5 comps that I'm showing you today that use trainer. It's so good. And then, the mage comp, which I'm not showing today, but I've shown in past videos. Mages also use trainer. Trainer is just so good. So anytime I'm seeing like a Tristana Heimerdinger opener, I'm playing that, building up a giant Namzi, and that just makes this so strong late game. I just wanted to show you guys my match history real quick for something really insane that I noticed. I just got out of a game. This is what caused me to put Shin as my number 1 comp. Okay, I just got out of this game where I played an Shin with Guinsoo's Rageblade, Jewel Gauntlet, Hand of Justice. Went first with this board. The game before that, I played Guinsoo's Rageblade Hextech Gunblade Mage Emblem Aoshin won and went first. Did I say third? I went first. And then this game yesterday, I played an Aoshin with Mana Zane, Archangel Staff, Rabadon's Deathcap, and I went first. And you can see I have 2 dragons because I have the Dragon Alliance augment in. All 3 of these games I won on Aoshin 1. This unit is insane. Like, if you get Aoshin 2, it's kind of a wrap, no? Like, the fact that I'm winning these games with Aoshin 1 just shows you how absolutely insane this unit is. Like, literally, my last game, this game that I played, I was playing Corki. I was going to play Corki. I was carrying Tristana with a Last Whisper. That's why you see this Last Whisper here. I had Last Whisper Guinsoo's on Tristana, rolled a little bit at 7. I rolled an Aoshin 1, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm just going to pivot to Aoshin, put the Guinsoo's on him, threw the Last Whisper on Lulu, built a Hand of Justice for him, and I was like, okay, this is Aoshin now. We're just going to chill on Aoshin. And I just won every fight. It's so insane. It allows you to get the synergy of mages in really easily, because you just play this package I was showing you before of Heimerdinger, Silas, Zoe. You, of course, want to get the Ornn in for the 4 Tempest. You want Lulu in because it's going to give you trainers. Also, she can provide attack speed to Aoshin so he can cast faster. And then you can just throw in like a Bard. Level 9 can be a Yasuo, because he is really good at just CCing enemy units. So you can do that. Like I was talking about before, you can do the Nami thing where you cut this for Nami, but then you're losing bruisers, so it's not as good. But, you know, like prior to hitting Zoe, you can cut Zoe for Nami, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think this is the strongest board in the entire game. Like you can see in my match history, if you can just hit this board consistently, you can just win games for free. Just straight up for free if you hit this unit. So I think he's absolutely insane. The fact that Aoshin 1 stabilizes you is nuts. And then if you can go 9 and hit Aoshin 2, then it's just a straight up GG. So yeah. Those are my strongest comps of the patch. I think that is everything that I want to talk about comps-wise. Just a little bit talking about like tempo and other stuff. Generally, I think in terms of tempo, it's pretty similar to how this set has been so far, where it's not super slow. Like, you will get punished if you just play a garbage board at level 6 or at level 7. Like, you definitely have to roll at level 6 and 7 if your board is terrible or if you have pairs. So definitely still do that. So it's pretty, I would call it like regular TFT tempo, where like rolling is fine. You're not just going fast 8 every game. Though if you can go something like fast 8, fast 9 for this board, obviously it's really good, but that means you have to hit pairs or build a really strong board. As far as item slams, I have just become an absolute fan of the Giant's Belt or Bow Start on Carousel. So I wanted to show you guys something, which is that a ton of the starting items that are actually insanely strong. So I'll pull up Sunfire Cape, Guinsoo's, Zeke's Herald, Static Shiv. I mean, that's enough for now. These are all some of the strongest starting items in the game. So if you look on Meta TFT, the round win rate shows you the win rate of this item when you play it. So every board that has a Sunfire on it has a 62% chance of winning. 62% of those boards win. Guinsoo's actually not that high. Okay, let's get Guinsoo's out of my sample. Static Shiv is really what I want to look at, which is a 69% win rate. That is so nuts. That is so nuts. Zeke's Herald as well, 69% win rate. Warmog's Armor as well, Giant's Belt item, right? 65% win rate. So that's why every carousel that I can get, even like Banshee's Claw, which you wouldn't think is like that good of a slam, 65% win rate. Really, really, really good. So this is why I'm starting Giant's Belt or Bow, like every single carousel I can get. And I know I pulled up Guinsoo's and it doesn't have the best win rate, but like Guinsoo's is actually just the best item in the game. Not necessarily for like winning rounds early, though like some of it is like people slam it on Nidalee and Varus and then intentionally lose streaks, so you have to take that into account. But Guinsoo's the best item in the game because of the number of units that can carry it. You can carry it on Varus, Elise, Volibear, Xayah, Nidalee, Yone, Xayah, Tristana, Swain, Syfen. Throw it on Zoe, throw it on Corki. Where's Aoshin actually? Aoshin's all the way down here, but still completely fine average placement. And you saw like in my games, I went Guinsoo's on Aoshin 2 out of 3 of these games, and I won both of them. So totally fine item on Aoshin. So you can put this item on like basically every carry in the game. So this is another reason why Bow Start is so good, because it gives you access to Guinsoo's, which is just the best item in the game and is going to be throughout the entirety of the set because of how many units care about attack speed. Elise cares about attack speed, Volibear cares about attack speed, Xayah cares about attack speed, Yone cares about attack speed, Swain cares about attack speed, Syfen cares about attack speed, like built into their kits. Okay, I don't want to keep this video too long, so that is going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think about the patch. I think it's actually like a really, really good patch. I know some people are going to complain about the meta because some people always are, but I think this patch is actually like insanely good with the number of comps that are playable. I touched on a few at the start of the video that I didn't show you today, but stuff like Nidalee Reroll is still totally fine if you get a good opener for it. Stuff like Xayah, Guild Xayah is totally fine. Even stuff like Volibear is playable, like I've played Volibear before. Yone Reroll can be playable. I didn't show it today because I'm not that confident in it. Like I haven't played it myself, but I've seen people do well with Yone Reroll. So there's just like so many comps are viable. It's actually incredibly well balanced. So I hope you guys have fun with this patch. And yeah, I hope I can keep farming some firsts with Shin. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next video. See ya!